There's something wrong with this damn thing.
Mr. Cleve Dean, beast.
Man,
How long have you known Cleve Dean?
I've known Cleve Dean probably pushing 30 years.
I'll tell you like I told him.
Known Cleve since he was 350, 360 pounds up to where he's over 700 pounds. He's been more active in the 450 to 500 pound range. At that weight, he's probably the fastest big man I've ever seen. David Randall's fast, Travis Bajan's fast, but at that time, Cleve was probably faster than they were. He's got a hand that is noted for being like a catcher's mitt. WPAA was predominantly the association of the day in the 70s. They had what was called a two-start go. It's the same arm wrestling as we do today, except you put your elbow in a cup instead of a pad. It was a two-start go. The cadence was ready, go, and approximately 4 seconds later you hear another go. During the first ready go, you could move anything on the table except your shoulders. In other words, you could set up, get a grip. When you say ready, go, you could pin somebody without moving your shoulders. Do it. Well, at that time, when Cleve would get up there in his weight class, and there'd be people 300 pounds across the table from him, 90% of his wins were on the first go, ready, go, and he would pin them. He'd never have to wait on the second go. It was pretty much awesome. Bobby Hopkins is here. Bobby and Cleve had a couple matches back in 85s, 86 days that were awesome. And at that point, Danny Stone was in it, Jim Northern. They all were contenders, but they couldn't hold a candle to Cleve of the day.
Have you ever arm wrestled Cleve?
Not seriously. I have a picture, or I had a picture of Karen at 110 pounds getting a grip with Cleve on an arm wrestling table in 1985 at a over-the-top qualifier in Houston, and that was Dave and Goliath for sure.
Cleve Dean, the man, the myth, the legend.
Alabama boy showed up. I thought Alabama boys got along.
Okay, when I first got into the sport, people would tell me what a legend Cleve Dean was, but I didn't know you still arm wrestle. I had pictured you.
Well, actually, I put in almost 2 years ago was going to come back. And I went and had knee surgery done. And like a fool, went out there and went to work 2 days later, and it still had an open wound in it and got staph infection. And that laid me up for 6 or 8 months and everything else, and it took me way down. And kind of crippled me in my legs a little bit too. And I'd already had a problem with my legs because of my back. And it just set me way back, so I'm actually behind schedule. Yeah, but I'm back in the gym now. I've been in the gym now 3 months, and we'll see.
I'm glad to see you're still pulling. Tell me, how did Cleve Dean start arm wrestling?
Accidentally, really, watching a muscular dystrophy benefit show on TV where arm wrestling was part of that, and got to inquiring and got on a mailing list and started getting an invitation to different tournaments.
And did you have to train to become the Cleve Dean that people knew, or was it just straight natural?
I had the natural strength and a natural ability, but it needed to be tuned, you know, and that's what going to tournament after tournament did for me. It tuned it, and you never quit fine-tuning it. If you ever do, you're kind of like I got into here for quite a few years. You're just kind of semi there.
Have you ever, let me see your hand, show me your hand. Have you ever gripped up with somebody who had his hand like you, or had
some that were real close? None actually there, no, but I met a guy one time from Nova Scotia, and he was about my height and size and everything else. And then there's a guy from Russia, young guy. What's the Russian kid's name? Hans? Not Hans, that's wrong. But he'll stand close to 6'5", 6'6", about 350. He's a big old boy. Alan Carrier, okay.
So his hand's close to yours.
It's close. It's not quite mine, but it's close.
So, tell me some of the things arm wrestling has done for you in your life. What are some of your most fondest memories of arm wrestling moments?
Man, I tell you what, we can sit down and write a book on fond memories for me, because I have had so many experiences in so many different ways. Sometimes just getting to a tournament, sometimes being at the tournament, sometimes leaving the tournament was the experience. You just, I mean, you got to realize how many years I've been in this. I mean, people I've got to meet, movie stars, some of the most famous athletes from every sport in the world, and just the arm wrestling family within itself is an experience. Honestly. So, if I was to ever start on that, I mean, you would just have to sit down and just
Give
take
me
a
one.
day.
Give me one. What's the first thing that comes to your mind as far as?
Well, we'll go back to the beginning. The first thing was when I got a challenge from Virgil Arciero through Tony Celeste, who was a promoter in Vegas, saying he had a guy that could beat me at arm wrestling. I hadn't even won no world championship, and this was the first year I had won one. Only because this guy didn't show up, and I said, well, it's a way to solve that. And he said, well, that's exactly what I want to do. He said, I want a challenge match in Vegas. And it was a big bet, and back then, I was talking about in '78, it was a $22,000 bet, winner take all, which was not a long tournament or long, it was best 2 out of 3, and it went 2 out of 3, and first match lasted maybe 2 seconds, second one about 5, and it was over with.
So how much money did you make from that?
$22,000.
22. In 1978.
That was a big chunk of change, '78.
What'd you do with it?
When I do it, it was my daddy's. He wanted to put in the money. I did get a percentage. That was it.
That's amazing.
I thought he'd be a little less stingy and give me half of it, but he didn't. He gave me that my percent.
And then there was a rematch in Chicago, which you
Oh, there was rematches besides that one, but yeah, there was one in Chicago that was wrist wrestling instead of arm wrestling, and that day was Virgil's day.
Yeah,
Sure
do
was.
you remember that tournament?
Oh, very well, very well. It was strictly a challenge match. It was just me and him. It was a tournament, but as far as he and I pulling, that was just me and him. Yeah.
I watched the video, and the look on your face when you lost was like you couldn't believe it. I mean, there was.
Well, see, I'd never lost to Virgil until then. So it was a little bit of a surprise.
And somebody told me that you planned. Is it true that you were gonna buy a truck that weekend with that money, or you already bought a truck because you thought you were gonna win or something?
Oh no, I never planned on anything like that at all. It was just another challenge, really, to me, and which I enjoyed it as much as anything. Really, never really wanted to bet at all. I'm just not a person who likes to bet money. You want to say, I'll get it, and I'll bet you. Okay, I'm fine with that. But when you start saying money, really betting money is something I'm opposed to.
So in
Except for in a playful way. If you want to use a playful amount of money, a few $100 here, a few $100, that's something that can hurt somebody.
So in 1978, how did it get to $22,000?
Man, to tell you the truth, I really don't even know. It started out at $2,500, and they kept the people from Vegas kept calling me and said, "Well, will you match this? Will you match this? Will you match this?" And Daddy said, "Yeah, I'll back it." So that's.
Were you nervous? I mean, that's a lot of money.
Well, I had never met Virgil at the time either. Of course, he had never met me either. But they had watched all kind of tapes of me wrist wrestling in Petaluma, California, and they thought they had a sure thing.
When you gripped up with his hand, did you feel like, okay, this guy has something? I'm gonna give him.
I knew he had something, but I didn't feel intimidated at all. I felt very sure what I was gonna do.
From the video, you're like you're rocking the table, you're getting fired up.
See, I always, that was just a habit of mine. I never even realized I was doing it until they made a rule against it. I always rocked. I mean, I did that for the first few years I was in the sport. I rocked.
Really?
And then Tony Celeste and them come up with a rule that you can't rock. So I had to quit it. It was not a benefit to me. Everybody thought it was, but it wasn't, because actually somebody could have caught me going in, and that put me going backwards. So actually, to stop me from rocking was actually a benefit to me, because it made me post back the whole time. So they hadn't done themselves a favor; they did me one. Lost to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 guys. What would you say? 8?
Way up through Yukon Jack days, probably about 8.
8 guys.
Yeah. Danny Stone, Brezink. I don't know. Was it Gary Goodridge? Virgil, or the Russian, Allen, but that's recently. That's kind of like coming back. Bobby Hopkins.
The only person I've ever lost to that I hadn't turned it around on was the big Russian, and I've never met him again.
Really?
No, I'll tell you about it. It's 2 guys. I lost a match to a guy one time in Ohio. I won the tournament because somebody else beat him, but it was the very first match. I just made a goof. I lost it. I went to the winner's loser bracket, come back and won the tournament. But I've never pulled him again.
So where are you from, Cleve?
I'm from Paybo, Georgia.
Paybo, Georgia. And you're a pig farmer.
Well, I was born and raised as a pig farmer, yes, sir. Now I'm in the mobile home business from A to Z. And I mean, we buy, sell, deliver, transport, set up. We're dealers and set up.
So no more pigs?
No.
Wow,
I haven't done that in a while.
How did you do that kind of labor when you were pushing like 600-700 pounds when you were up there?
Actually, for 700 pounds, I got around pretty good. And until my legs went bad on me, I got around pretty good for 700. I mean, it wore me out. No doubt. Yeah, by all means. I mean, give a different.
700 pounds. He was 350 to 400 at that time, and that's how the injury occurred. And he hurt his back in the pig farming days, picking the sow off, or piglets, I remember, not the first time, but the second time, and he hurt his back. And at that point, he started gaining the weight. He was a little less mobile. But during those days, he came in at 350 to 400 pounds, right in that area.
So Cleve Dean was the most dominant, whatever day that was. What weight was Cleve?
That was at in the 70s for sure, and really even after his injury, he was dominating, and I'd say about 450 pounds was his average weight.
So when a guy like John Brezink, who was half your size, what? Does that shock you? I mean, when a smaller guy comes along, I mean, did you feel mentally that these smaller guys have no shot against you?
Well, to explain that the way I'd want to explain it would be a downward thing, probably on my part and other people's part too. So really, I'd rather not explain that, except that they were on top of their game and I wasn't on top of my game. And I knew it. Yes, it hurt my feelings. Yes, I was disappointed myself, but I never failed to congratulate them, and I blame myself for it. I never blamed them, and I give them credit for being able to do it.
So where's Cleve in the next couple of years? What are you going to do in the sport of arm wrestling? I mean, is it more of a part-time thing? Are you getting serious into training?
I'll be at more tournaments than people have seen me at in 12 years.
Really? So you're getting fired up?
I will. My wife has pushed me back into serious training, and she too wants to do it. So we're going to try and make this a pair thing, a husband and wife thing, and see what we can do with it. And all that we enjoy it, we enjoy the people. So even though winning is definitely an important thing to me, being there is more important. Sharing the camaraderie is more important. And the winning is secondary to what I really want, because what I really want to do is, I've always felt like I brought an upswing to arm wrestling. and we've got some people now doing a downswing. So if I can redominate, and that's my full intentions, is not redominate just for myself, but it's for, I hope, for the sport itself, so that I can bring arm wrestling back up to an upswing and give it a more positive image than what some of our present champions are doing. They disappoint me. They're good. They've been given a God-given talent. One in particular has been given a God-given talent as far as his arm wrestling ability goes. Even his mouth, he knows how to use it, but he uses it negatively, and that disappoints me. So a lot of mine is because this is a sport I love, and because there's some people that's doing some things and using their dominant position to make this sport that I love and these people that I love discredit them. I wish to turn that around. That is my desire. That is, I pray for that ability.
Best of luck to you, Cleve. Let me ask you, has your style changed over the years, your technique?
It's had to change due to the fact that my back has gotten a little bit worse and my knees have gotten worse. So I'm not as agile at the table, which is a lot of what's wrong, and which a lot of people don't know. I don't trust my legs to let me move the way I used to move. So my power has got to increase above what it's ever been. Now, am I there yet? No, I'm not. If I can increase in the next 3 months what I have increased in the last 3 months, I will have the power to dominate anybody out there right now. But then I still got to get the agility and everything enough to go back with it. So I've actually got to go beyond any power I've ever had if I can't get the agility, so that I can just outpower them, and not just outmove them, but outpower them. And that's going to take a lot of work, a lot of dedication, and I know it. And I'm not doing this to belittle nobody at all, believe me, because I do not wish to belittle nobody. I love everybody in this sport, it's the whole thing about it. But I want to put the image back there that I once believed that I put there, like to believe that I put there.
So you weighed in at 398 for this tournament?
498.
498.
Which is up probably, I'm actually up right at, well, over 30 pounds from what I was a few months ago. Now, I don't feel like I put on any belly. I think that is just, I have firmed up that much.
Really? So you've been working on 3 months, you've put on 30 pounds of muscle?
I'm working hard. Well, the thing you have to realize, and something a lot of people don't realize, if your body's ever been there, then once you wake it up, it goes back pretty quick. Now, because of my age, it's not going back as quick as it once would have. I'm having to work harder than I've ever worked, which makes me enjoy it more because it's more of a challenge than it's ever been. So, you know, I've got a lot of reasons to make this happen.
So what would be your ideal, if you could wake up tomorrow and you could be a certain weight and in shape, what would that be?
I'd be 300 pounds.
300 pounds. And that'd be a strong Cleve?
Yep. Very much so.
So what have you been doing in 3 months? What kind of training?
I'm steadily in the gym at the YMCA there in Moultrie. I spend 3 nights a week pulling heavy, and then I spend at least 2 to 3 nights a week water walking. And I don't just water walk as a way to exercise in the pool that puts so much resistant training on your muscles in your arms, shoulders, and everything else. It's unreal. And it has actually surprised me, because not only has it done that for me, but because I have a lot of arthritis, it seems to have helped that a lot and actually agiled me up a little bit in the shoulder stuff. Now, if I can get that agileness back in my legs and my back, then I think the world is just at my mercy.
Oh. Cleve Dean, thank you so much for your time, my friend.
Thank you, man. My pleasure.
Thank you. Oh, it would have been cool to see you at Vegas. See you ready.
Oui.
I want to see you at one of these coming up big tournaments.
Okay. I'll be there. I fully intend to. That's my destination.
One more question. Who's inspired you to start getting back into shape.
They're around you right now.
Thank you very much for your
My
time.
friends right here close by, Frank, Carrie, my wife, they all been push. Yeah. So,
Thank you very much for your time, sir.
thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure.